So it's a long time since I completed my leadership qualification, but I have added module 1 recently for rainbows. But I can still fondly remember the support and encouragement I received from my commissioner at the time. I don't think we had mentors then, we just had a commissioner who helped us through and supported us. And very quickly after I completed my leadership qualification, I was given some new young leaders to mentor through theirs. And that's the way we work in Girl Guiding. It's really, really good. I currently have the privilege to work with the county leadership coordinators right across the region. And I hear loads of the great stuff that they're doing, and especially over the last 15 months on how they've managed to keep the leaders in training moving with their qualifications. So tonight it gives me great pleasure to introduce Libby and Sophie, who are the Cheshire Border Leadership Qualification team. Sophie and Libby.
Hi, I'm Libby Mooney. I've been in guiding for over 30 years. I've run Rainbows, Brownies, Guides and Rangers, as well as done various other things at region and county level. And I recently retired from guiding completely until our county commissioner found me this new role. And I said I'd do it if I was doing it with Sophie. We're both passionate about leadership, and we're both passionate about education and using technologies as much as possible. I'll pass you to Sophie, who'll then ask somebody else who they are.
Brilliant, thanks Libby. I have been a rainbow leader. One of those usual stories. Somebody said to me, oh, well, if you want your daughter to get in age 5, you're going to have to start a new unit. So off I did. That got me started, and then I moved with her to Brownies. She's now finished all of her journey, but I'm still leading Brownies, which I'm really enjoying. I've been our district commissioner, which I ceased about 18 months ago. And at that point, little did I know, you get a little call at that point saying, what would you like for your next role? And somehow they persuaded me that Libby would come back if I came back, and made sure could we have a go at looking after the leadership qualification for the county. So we're having lots of fun. Both of us, as Libby said, are involved in training adults for our paid day jobs. And it's something that we feel really passionate about, and it's really lovely to have done some training sessions with the mentors in Cheshire Border recently, which is what I think has led to us now being here tonight to talk to you about the leadership qualification and possibly becoming a mentor. Might be something you already have done, and you maybe are already a mentor and just wanting to have a bit of a brush up and a catch up. It should be relevant in that way as well. So let's find out from a few others as well what you're here for, what you do at the moment, what you're hoping to get out of tonight. So shall we start with Nicola? Hello.
Hello. I am the Leadership Qualification Coordinator for Stockport. I think I've seen you, Sophie, on a couple of the Zooms that we've done with Jocelyn. And must admit, I was very interested to come along for a nosy. I'm not a mentor, but obviously I'm very involved with mentors. So I'm hoping to take away knowledge that I can pass on to our team in Stockport.
Fantastic. Lydia, hello.
Hiya. So I'm currently a leader in training. So I'm here just to maybe get some hints or advice on different bits of the leadership qualification.
Brilliant. Lovely. Over to Jean.
Oh, hi. I'm Jean from Appleby Guides in Cumbria. And hello, Jocelyn. I remember you well. I'm a leader at the moment, but I've got a leader in training working with me, who eventually, we hope, will be taking over from me, and I will take a step back as assistant leader, or maybe just helper. But everything seems to be going okay, so I'm actually mentoring the leader in training. And it's a while since I have mentored. I have mentored before, but it's a while, so I thought it was about time to make sure that I was still doing things okay, doing it right.
You are. I'm sure you are, but yes, we'll help check on that tonight. Lovely. Laura, hello.
Hi everyone. I've just started on my leadership qualification. I was just helping out at Rainbows while my daughter was there. She's now moved on to Brownies, so I've stayed behind at Rainbows to help Lisa out. I've been doing that for kind of, well, 2 2.5 years now. So I just thought I'd embark on this next challenge and see how I get on. So I'm just looking for some kind of help and hints and tips and guidance, really.
You'll be surprised how much you've already completed of your leadership.
I know, well, I've kind of started working through it and making notes and trying to remember what we used to do pre-COVID. So it kind of, I'm just pulling bits out and, you know, things we have done already, but, you know, it's good to refresh, isn't it? And see where I go from here, really.
Brilliant. Simone.
Hello, everybody. I joined Girlguiding at 8 as a brownie. We had a waiting list, so I missed 12 months, and I've never left, to be honest with you. At the moment, I'm running rainbows and guides. I'm predominantly always been a guide leader, but the rainbow leaders left, and it was a case of we need somebody to take it over. So that's been an interesting journey in itself. I had to then obviously do the modules for the rainbows. So I've been asked to do some mentoring. I did do some mentoring, but it was quite a long time ago. And I know the leadership qualifications changed quite a lot, and I believe it's going to be going through some changes again shortly. So I'm here really to sort of get some hints, tips, and things that work and things that don't work, and really how to sort of approach it. Because obviously we're in a very different situation now, and it's a case of just being, you know, some tips on how to support people, maybe potentially virtually as well, really, I'm looking for. So there you go.
I'm sure we can help with that. But yes, there's a little section later on what's coming up with the LQ review. Helen, hello.
Hello, I'm Helen from St Helens. I've been in guiding since I was 5. I've never left. But I do brownies predominantly, but I do guides as well now, and I'm doing rainbows at the moment as well. Yeah. But I am the Assistant Division Commissioner for St Helens, so just thought I'd come and get some hints to help our young leaders, our leaders in training.
It's good to see you again, Helen. We've met in the past.
Yeah, we have.
Hey, and Kate, hello.
Yeah, hi. I'm a rainbow leader in Cheshire Forest, and I finished my leadership qualification a year and a half ago. So I have started mentoring in our district, and I have just signed on for the trainer's qualifications. So step forwards and step back. But I'm very interested, despite the fact I'm a rainbow leader, with adult learning and supporting adults that way. So I was interested to know what other roles were available locally and regionally.
Great to hear. And Sarah, hello.
Hi, I'm a county commissioner for Sefton, and I just come to anything like this because there's always something to learn at whatever you go to. So I'm again just after any tips that other people have got on mentoring and getting people through things. So just here to listen, pick up any good ideas.
Lovely. So Jocelyn said hello already. Emma, do you want to just say who you are as well? Because we know, but I don't want people thinking I missed you out.
Hi, yes, so I'm Emma, the Assistant Chief Commissioner, and also a brownie and a guide leader. So I did my leadership qualification fairly recently, probably like finished it 2 years ago, I want to say. And yeah, I've currently got 3 leaders in training, so supporting them through their LQ as well.
Excellent. Well, my role, Sophie's going to show you some slides and talk through them. It seems like a huge number of slides. You don't need to make any notes at all because they'll all be sent out to you afterwards by Carolyn. And we'll also send you a copy of the Mentor Handbook that's on the Girlguiding website with some extra bits in, so that you've got everything resource-wise that we talk about, and those will be sent out. If you want to ask questions as we go along, don't be worried about turning your sound back on and asking a question. If you want to save your question to the end, then write it down somewhere and we'll try and answer it when we get to the end of the slideshow. Over to you, Sophie.
Brilliant. So is this now working? I've got a little funny thing saying resume slideshow, which I've hit. So can you see the first slide yet?
We can see all the slides.
Okay. Let me try. So from current slide.
Resume show.
So I've hit resume show. It's probably because I did it before, isn't it?
Yeah, it doesn't want to play.
No.
Do it from the beginning, see what that does.
Hit from the beginning, yeah. That brings up the resume slideshow. Add or remove buttons.
Nope.
No.
Sophie, if you try the display at the bottom of your screen,
Yes.
I don't know if you can see my cursor. So you've got notes, etc.
No, that one, has that moved?
That's
Perfect.
it.
Okay, we can see your next slide queuing up as well.
But that's I think that's only the co-host that can see that.
No, I can see it too.
Okay.
Right. I don't know if I know how to change that. See all slides? Is that what's wrong? No.
Nope.
No, don't want that one. Well, anyway, if you can see can you see the main slide that I'm clicking on? I'm on slide 3 now.
Yes.
Which is, so we're going to start with the LQ. So a little whistle stop tour through the LQ. It doesn't sound like there's anybody that's thinking about doing it. Sounds like you've either done it or you've signed up already. So we've got you signed up, which is great. But really what we do say is that most of it can be achieved by simply taking an active role in the unit. So for somebody that's been helping with rainbows, so I can't remember all the names, but if you've been helping rainbows for a couple of years, I'm sure you'll have done a huge amount of it already and should be able to take lots off as you work through your workbook. So gather your evidence, keep your info while you're doing the unit meetings. I've certainly had a few people while I've been district commissioner who've done it within 6 months, a couple of school terms. And most people take a little bit longer than that, perhaps between 6 months and a year. But that's kind of a guide for how long it might roughly take you. And who can do it? You can't qualify till you're 18, but you can start working towards it from age 16 and over. If you're under 18, you'll simply be called a young leader. Even if you finish the whole thing, you can't be called an actual leader until you are 18. And a few of you have referred to the idea of changing sections. So I originally qualified as a rainbow leader. When I then moved across to brownies, you just have to do a new module 1 for brownies. And actually now we've got a simple checklist that could even be talked through with your leadership coordinator by phone. It's something that the mentor and you can work through together and make sure that you're happy that you've done everything. And it's a much more straightforward process than trying to document and send lots of things off. Depends on your leadership coordinator and how you're doing things. But if you've got the evidence and you're happy and your mentor is happy that you've done everything and can show that you've done all the bits of the new module 1, then you will become a rainbow leader as well as being a brownie leader or whatever else you're doing it for. So that's how you change sections. It's a competency-based qualification, so we're not marking anything and sending things back and saying, oh, you only got 49%, you've got to resit. It doesn't work like that. Basically, you need to plan and run meetings, and in doing that, you'll achieve your LQ. We want you to demonstrate that you've got the skills and experience to be an effective leader. So there's 4 modules, and you can do them in any order, and you can do bits from one module, bits from another module. Things can be combined, achievements can count more than once. So if you've planned a particular activity, it can count in more than one section, that's fine. Your mentor can help you work out what experience you've already got, what achievements you've already got, knowledge, skills, etc., and see if that can count. And also they can help guide you through what formal training you require. So I think what you'll find is that although I'm talking about the LQ at this first section, if you're thinking you're on this particular evening sharing tonight because you want to know about mentoring, a lot of what I'm explaining is what you need to tell somebody that you're being a mentor for. So I put a quick overview here of the 4 modules. I'm not proposing to read through every single line of every slide here, but what we've got are 4 modules. The first one is your role in the programme. Second, looking a bit wider, looking at girl guiding as a whole. 3 is all about safety and unit admin. And then 4 is managing a unit. So to be a full leader, you need to do all 4 modules. If you just want to be an assistant leader, because you've already got a main leader and you're just happy to be an assistant leader, you can just do modules 1 to 3. So we'll see what the difference is with that in a moment.
I've very recently signed somebody off who's done modules 1 to 3, and we had that discussion. And she went away with module 4, a photocopy of it, ready to do that, just in case.
Brilliant. Again, if somebody has done modules 1 to 3, they can just print off module 4 from the website We don't need a new workbook. It's something that you can do just as a little standalone thing.
There's only 7 clauses.
So module 1, your role in the programme. So first of all, part 1, there's a few sections to this. Essentially, they want you to look over 3 months that you're using the 5 essentials in the unit. We'll come back to the 5 essentials in a little bit. Part 2 is planning and carrying out the programme. Part 3 is making sure you're doing a wide range of activities. And part 4 is looking at the progress of members. So in particular, that's somebody progressing through their experience, perhaps over the 2 years of Rainbows, and then helping them to work out whether they want to move up to Brownies and at what point they're going to do that. That's what we're talking about in part 4. Module 2 is a bit shorter. First of all, there's a bit about the promise, including you making your promise and discussing it with your mentor. Part 2, attending and contributing to local meetings. So one of the things you need to do is go to a district meeting. And then part 3 is getting involved in local guiding. Module 3, safety and unit admin. There's a bit about communication with parents, so you can give some evidence to your mentor, show that you've been sending some emails out, effectively showing the parents what's going on, keeping them informed. And again, communicating with the local community. Making sure, part 2, you're doing everything in a safe environment. So we'll talk about safe space training shortly, but also you need to do a unit safety check. And there's a really useful checklist at the back of the workbook to work through to make sure your meeting place is safe. And then there's an awareness of your responsibility for unit funds as part 3. And the shortest one, module 4, record keeping, good old Go. Can you record things on Go? Do you keep registers? All that sort of stuff. And then a little bit about communication locally for managing the unit. So that's a little overview of the 4 modules. Quite a lot of the modules in the workbook refer you to reading little extracts from the guiding manual. Now, there isn't a hard copy of that anymore because it gets updated all of the time. So there's a link to where you can find the guiding manual. And another top tip, if we're talking about links, is obviously you can have a copy of these slides and you're very welcome to provide them to those who are mentoring in your district or to people who are doing the LQ themselves. And then they've got these links. But if you're looking for a link, if you want to find something in the Girlguiding website, well, we do love the Girlguiding website. It's got a massive amount of brilliant information, but its own search function isn't the best, if we're honest. And I think most of us would admit that we just type into Google, go into Google, type in guiding manual or Girlguiding guiding manual, and usually get there quicker. That's usually the best way to find anything. There's also a very helpful little section called Guidance Notes for Leaders. That's a really good little PDF that you could download and save, which I think is well worth having, especially if you are a new leader, if it's something you're new to having to do. Or maybe if you just want to refresh and remind yourself. I mean, for me, it's a while since I've done face-to-face, starting again after half term, really excited about it. And I think I'll just have a quick refresh and make sure that I remember everything I need to do. Evidence. Perhaps I'll get Libby to talk a little bit about this, because Libby does our verification. So when your workbook is finished, your mentor will sign it all off and send it off to the Libby in your district, in your county. And Libby does the verification. So do you want to talk a bit about evidence?
Yes, I think the evidence that I need to be able to see on Go that somebody's done safe space level 1 and 2 and level 3 if they're if they're going to be a leader in charge. I need to see that they've got first response or first aid. If the first aid is not first response through guiding, I need to see a copy of their first aid certificate so that I can check that it matches our requirements. And all the other evidence really that's needed can be written in the discussion sections or the notes sections in the LQ book or on the blank pages at the back. You might get somebody putting a program in for a term that's got some notes on about the 5 essentials. But if you look in the appendices at the back of the LQ workbook, there's loads of places there where you can fill in the evidence. There's loads of exercises, documents that can be done really easily that act as evidence. When I did my LQ, I think I sent 2 ring binders full of stuff and more was asked for. We don't need that anymore. It should be a verification when it gets to county level, because the mentor is the key person who's seeing the evidence or discussing the evidence. And so they're key people. If you in your districts, your divisions, your counties, your mentors are key people to support and give training to.
I think both Libby and I feel that we just don't want people posting huge reams of photos and written notes about how they ran a meeting. Show that to the mentor, yes, and then the mentor signs off the workbook. If the people have made the effort to keep these lovely records, then hopefully the mentors will look at them, even if they, perhaps they weren't there. It doesn't have to be the mentor that signs the clauses off, as it says on this slide here. Lots of different people can sign off the different clauses in the book. The mentor does need to sign the final pages, I think it's pages 38 and 39. But as you're going through the main book, anybody can sign off that you've discussed your promise with them, that you've run a particular meeting joint with another unit. Anyone can sign off the clauses. So really, ideally, the workbook should be able to fit in just a normal envelope for posting off that A4 booklet and posting it back to get it verified. It doesn't need to be being sent special delivery by parcel post with a great big ream of evidence. So again, you'll all have your own systems in your own counties for exactly who you send things to, and make sure you're aware of who to send things to next once a workbook is finished. Now, if you've got a new leader, a really good thing to have a look at, and mentors can recommend this, is the excellent e-learning session called Beginning to Lead. Now, if this was one of these sessions where I was looking for lots of feedback from you and wanted you to shout things out for me, like I do with the adults I generally train, I'd be saying to you, so how long does it take to do an e-learning? And you'd all be shouting back, 20 to 30 minutes, because that's always the answer. Bar one that I'll come on to. But anyway, generally our e-learning courses take between 20 and 30 minutes, something you can easily fit into a quick evening or a wet Saturday, or well, let's hope it's going to be sunny, but just when you've got a moment. I sometimes have to wait in the car while my kids are doing something.
Outdoors on your iPad.
Absolutely, anywhere you want to do it. Okay, they are great, they're easy to do, lots of help. So Beginning to Lead, that's a bit small probably to read, it depends how big a monitor you're looking at. It's got lots of different sections. There's an introduction, there's a getting to know you bit, Beginning to Lead, show me the skills, planning section, a facilitation section, a teamwork section, a communication section. And in each of these, you meet somebody. So there's some real case studies for you to watch little videos and see what they did when they were starting as leaders. And then it talks about the tools you need for the job. And finally, congratulations. And it recommends the use of a learning journal. And if you put in your membership number at the end of the e-learning course, when the little survey pops up at the end, it'll get recognized on Go. That's a great thing to do. So there are some formal training bits that are required as part of the LQ. And I think a mentor is a key person in ensuring that somebody that's taking on the LQ understands which are the formal training bits they need to do. So 3 training sessions, a first response course, so that's the name for the Girlguiding Run first aid, safe space levels 1 and 2, that's cheeky, isn't it? I called it 3 and that's got 2 courses in it, and then a program training. So let's have a look at each of these in turn, 1, 2 and 3. First response. At the moment, you can do this either face-to-face or virtually. If you do it virtually, you do have to do a little practical session with a trainer just to show, I would imagine they're going to give you a Resusciani and get you to do CPR. Just make sure that you know how to do it with the right number of breaths, the right number of pushing down on the heart, etc. And that you get your timing right. So that does need to be done if you've done the virtual course. Face-to-face, you'll obviously be doing that with your trainer on that particular session. Everybody has to do the e-learning module, and the unit would cover any course costs. So if you need to pay for a first response course, then don't worry, you can claim that back from the unit. If you've already got a qualification, it should be able to count. Mainly it needs to have had some pediatrics, a children's first aid. That's the main thing. And everybody has to renew every 3 years. So what's our training course like? First response is a 6-hour course. You can either do a 1-day course, they're usually weekends, or they've split it into 3 2-hour sessions. So we had a little series of these that were run during lockdown. I'm not sure about the fact they did it on a Friday night. I don't know how popular that was, but obviously they got some people who are happy to do 3 Fridays in a row of 2 hours. As I said, you need to meet a trainer in person to do a few practical elements if you did do the virtual training. The e-learning that's really just putting it into the perspective of how it fits with Girl Guiding. This is the quickie. This is the one that isn't shout out 20 to 30 minutes and get a thumbs up. This is the one that's only 10 to 15 minutes, and it genuinely is. I just did it the other day just out of interest, just to see how long it took, and it really is a quickie. And it's a good one to do if you want to just remember exactly how first response fits into Girl Guiding. So there is a link to the first response e-learning. So I've shown you what it would look like on the page when you click through into the Girl Guiding website. So those blue underlined hyperlinks, they're live. You can actually click to them from the slides when you get sent these.
Sophie and I have done a series of Zoom meetings with our mentors across the county. We've actually done it by division, and we've sent them out these slides so that they can use them with their mentees, because they've got the links in there.
And you're very welcome to share, chop them up, share them, use them, do however you need. I find I have a lot more success if I'm trying to get somebody to do a safe space course, for example. If I send them the link in the email, they're much more likely to do it. We're all busy. We don't have to go hunting for things, do we? So a bit more on safe space. Everybody needs safe space levels 1 and 2, and these 20 to 25 minutes. In fact, now, if you are a new volunteer, I don't know if those of you have come across this, but new inquiries now, before they can get a membership number and get in to go and come across into a unit, they have to do safe space level 1. Yep. And they have to put their inquiry number into the end bit because they haven't got a go membership number yet, but it all comes through. It's worked fine for me for a few people. And actually some people have been quite impressed that we are insisting on that before we allow them to become a member of any form. Because everybody, every volunteer of every type now needs a safe space level 1, even your D of E volunteers. And I've had the 14-year-olds do it, no problem. Level 1, as we said, you just need to do that one. That's just a reading, listening and absorbing. Level 2, there is a little quiz at the end. Don't panic, it's not too hard. If you've listened and been okay on following what was going on, you should be able to get 8 out of 10, especially because they do give you 3 goes. If you don't actually get 8 out of 10 on those 3 goes, my understanding is you have to go and do a face-to-face level 2 course. But I haven't had anybody that's happened to as yet. Everyone's managed to get the 3 in the 3 attempts. I think the questions do repeat, so just sort of make sure you remember what the answers were if you did get any of them wrong. When you finish your level 2 again, pop your membership number in. You'll find you know your Girl Guiding membership number off by heart by the time you've done your LQ. I have ended up using it as quite a few, I shouldn't tell you this, I use it as my password for lots of places because it's a number I just know and I think no one else would be able to guess. It's quite helpful to print the completion certificate that you get at the end of these for your LQ workbook, but actually your county leadership coordinator would check on Go and make sure it has logged on Go and that you're there. So at the moment, you don't need to do level 3 for the LQ, but we do think that it's likely to become part of it later on. But if you are the only leader in your unit, then you do need to do it. So at least, well, the way it works at the moment, at least 1 leader for every unit must have level 3 for that unit to be able to operate. It's a really good training session, this one. It's a 3-hour online session. So it's not a e-learning. This is a live session that you book onto. I did it back in September because and again, it has to be renewed every 3 years. My one had expired. I did it face-to-face the first time, and I did the online one in September, and it's one of the best courses I've done. I thought it was really, really good, really well run and really interesting.
I've done the online one recently.
Yeah, did you think it was?
And I was really impressed with it.
Yeah, I was too. It's one of the best courses I've done, I thought. I learned a lot from it as well, even though I've been reading for a while.
I did.
Yeah, it's nice to hear that from others as well. So here are some links to what it would look like to go through to the safe space training. So that is level 1. And there's the link at the top for clicking to go there. That's the level 2. So all on the Girl Guiding website. So that's the first 2 parts of your formal training. The third bit of formal training is you need to do a program training. And there's 5 of these on the Girl Guiding website. Module 1, Part 2F requires you to do 1 of them. So the 5 that you can choose from, there's a program overview, unit meeting activities and skills builders. So that's how our program works. Unit meeting activities are things that you do in the sessions as a group, the whole unit working. You might have different groups within your unit, but essentially you're doing it all the girls together for a particular evening. As you get these resources with the cards that tell you how many minutes there are allocated for that particular activity and what resources you need and how to run it. And you adapt them as needed. We've all been being a bit flexible, doing things over Zoom for the last year, I should think. Skills builders, again, another part of the program, again, done in the unit meeting place. Interest badges are the bit that the girls do at home. So this is where they put a little bit of their own effort in. And I do find that after a wet weekend, it's amazing how often, if I have done a hint about, you know, we're working towards Have Adventures this term, and I've said to a few of them, the aviation badge is quite easy to do, even if you're stuck inside all weekend. Basically, you've got to list 40 things that fly, make some paper aeroplanes, and then make a rocket that goes up vertically. Now, I bet you and your dads and your brothers and your mums would love to have a bit of fun doing that as a family. You have a competition. And amazing how many of them suddenly come back with an interest badge. So that's what you do at home on your own. Anniversary badges, how long they've all been in guiding. I think we're sort of using these instead of birthday badges these days, rather than sort of recognising a slightly different thing within guiding. Awards, so that's your bronze, silver and gold awards. Once you've done a certain number of themes within the programme, you can get these great awards. And I've got my first proper gold award for a brownie. I say proper because a few of them did it transitional, but this is my first one where she's done all 6 theme awards. I'm so proud of her, it's brilliant. The next programme training, unit programme planning, and that's a particularly good one to do. And again, it's a way of signing off your module 1, part 1C. So each of those 5 bits are 20 to 30 minutes. When the new programme came in a couple of years ago, I went to a county training on it, which was great, but I did come away a little bit, whoa, there were a lot of abbreviations, a lot of terminology. I'm not sure I've completely absorbed all of that. And I did all these 5 over the next couple of weeks, and they really helped me understand how the programme works and what there is out there to help us run Girl Guiding, and how that you can use them to support all the experience and the knowledge that you've got. And they are particularly good, I think, for new leaders because they give so many ideas. Really helpful. So there's the link to where the programme training is. And again, that's what that little page looks like with our purple banner and our little picture on the right. And a bit small again, maybe, but you've got the various different training modules that I've just been through. Those are the 5 choices, and the pink words are what you click on. Those are the live links to click to get to each of those e-learnings. Now, don't panic. You do not have to do all 5. I was just very keen. I wanted to know, but actually I so enjoyed them. I just sort of carried on and did them one after another over a weekend. I think really, really useful. If you're going to do just one of them, I'd probably say the best one is the programme planning, to talk to you about how to fit things across a term. I think that's really, really great. But they're all useful things there to help us. That's my husband ringing to say he's coming home for supper. I might just have to ignore him. Apologies for the phone ringing. Okay, now somebody mentioned that they were aware that the LQ review is happening. So a little bit on that. Yes, they're right. The LQ is undergoing a bit of a review. So there's the link to where to find out a little bit more about it on the Girl Guiding website, which looks like this when you get there. So this was last updated when I looked on the 3rd of March 2021. And this is a little bit of an overview of what it says on the website there. So they started thinking that it needed a review, and they've realised it's not a small thing. They thought it might be an easy fix, just a bit of an update to the workbook or put some more pictures in it. But they've actually now realised that it needs a bit more of an overhaul. A few people have said that they do find the workbook a bit daunting and it's not very exciting. I mean, there aren't any pictures, are there? It's a lot of checklists and tick lists. People have said they want some more ad hoc training opportunities, and they want more that's relevant to the young leaders as well. And they think there's a few things missing from our current qualification that people would find useful in their roles. Bit of a comment that some mentors, that can be inconsistent across Girl Guiding. And we do want, I think this is really key, a strong desire for prior learning and existing skills to be considered. Well, if you are in your day job a teaching assistant, you've probably got a huge amount of the skills that you need already to be a leader at Girl Guiding, as one example. There's many other examples of things where there's a lot of overlap. So this review, what head office are doing is they're going to split up the learning into modules with topics, and they're going to be things like communicating, team working, and the programme. They're going to make suggestions about which ones should be done at the beginning if you're a new leader, but you can still, again, do them in any order that works for you. And you can look at your priorities and see what your team, your unit team might need, and work out which areas perhaps you should work on first within the new LQ. And they will be a bit more bite size. Now, we're not going to have to redo it if you are a qualified leader, but if you would like to do a refresher, you could redo and do any of these new modules and refresh yourself going forward once they're available. So when? Well, don't worry if you're currently doing your LQ. This is going to be developed all through this year, and we don't think it's going to be complete until the earliest, the very end of 2021. And we love transitional rules in guiding, don't we? We love a year of transition. So there's going to be the ability to stay on the current workbook and get yourself finished all the way till the end of 2022. So plenty of time for those of you that are just starting and are keen to get this workbook all ticked off. So they're looking at how we can support people and what we can do throughout 2021. Libby and I have both put our hands up and said that we'd love to be involved, and we've given them some suggestions about things we would like to see with a new LQ, more of it online, more of the recording of it online, the ability perhaps for DCs and county coordinators to look and see whether there's just 2 modules or 2 little bits that are missing, and what is it that's the sticking point? Why hasn't this person finished? We think that would be really useful. They're going to do some content testing, and they're going to pilot some approaches. So if you'd like to get involved, again, let head office know. They're just drop them an email and volunteer and say that you'd like to help with the new review of the LQ. Okay, well, I'm going to talk about becoming a mentor in a moment, and we're going to move on to this sort of side of things, but it is still very relevant. Even if you're not thinking about becoming a mentor, there's still quite a lot of stuff in this section that's relevant for those of you that are doing the LQ. Should we just have a little pause and see if anyone's got any questions at this point? Silence.
Silence.
Have I stunned you into an inability to move with too many slides? But we're more than halfway through, aren't we? It's not too bad, is it?
Can I just ask a question?
Sorry,
I couldn't find my unmute button for a moment. If you log on to the Girlguiding website, is there somewhere where you can see what training you've done? Because I've done bits over the last few months, but because I've slept since, I can't remember what I've done.
You can have a look in Go.
Yeah.
If you go in Go to your name, which I think is top right, you can then look at your achievements, and it should have a list and a date of when you did your first aid and when you did safety.
Okay.
And it should say when they expire as well.
Okay, thank you.
If you can't see it, and if you're having troubles, your DC should be able to see it.
Okay.
So they should be able to view it on Go as well. But it does depend on it all having been logged properly. So if you think there's something missing, let your DC know.
Okay, thank you.
No probs. What there isn't, though, is any record. If you're working through the LQ booklet at the moment, there's no record of progress online. It's literally just that booklet. So if you are filling it in, hold on to it. I've got someone who lost hers in a house move recently. And luckily she can remember most of it, but it's very annoying to have to start again at filling.
No, I've got that all on paper in a folder, so that's all safe.
Good. One thing Libby and I have done for Cheshire Border is we have given all the mentors a copy of the workbook, because people were having to do a lot of mentoring virtually and over Zoom. It was really difficult, because if you're all doing face-to-face, you can sit down with your mentee and they've got their workbook and you can talk about it. But if they're at the other end of a Zoom call, you need to know what you're talking about in the booklet. And I think that's really helped the mentors get their heads around what's involved in being a mentor. And I think I'm always amazed that people don't read the introduction. It's really, really good. The beginning of the LQ book is really well written and sets out exactly what is needed to become a leader. And it's got a really good little bit about becoming a mentor as well. So I was thinking maybe we were here trying to persuade people to become a mentor, but even if that's not quite the case for you guys who are listening, if you do need to help persuade some people to become mentors, then these are some of the reasons. New perspective. You'll get some ideas from your mentee. You can reflect on your own guiding practices. It's really great to be seen as a role model, and you will develop your own leadership skills, and it'll help you with understanding about providing feedback, and it's good for your communication and interpersonal skills. Maybe a slightly more personal touch. I moved up to the Northwest, and then I had children. And when I first was up here, I sort of felt that the reason I moved up here was because my husband was from here. So we were newlyweds, and I just felt I was always his wife, being introduced as his wife to everybody. And I work from home, so I didn't really meet people through my work. And it wasn't really until I did Girl Guiding that I've made my own friends, if that makes sense. And I've got a completely separate life from sort of being just somebody's wife. And I have made the nicest friends through Girl Guiding. And people say to me, why do you volunteer so much? Why do you get so involved? It's totally about the people, isn't it? Mm-hmm. It's just the most lovely community. And there's so many great people that I have met locally. I mean, I think if you walk through Knutsford with Libby, and I think Libby knows everybody in Knutsford, and everybody knows Libby in some way, whether because their children have done Girl Guiding or because they've been Girl Guides with something that Libby's done. It's amazing. And I've been doing Girl Guiding for about 10 years or so now. And it's really just been a fantastic way to get involved in the community, and mentoring's yet another way to just meet some more really lovely people. So who can become a mentor? You don't need to be the fountain of all knowledge, not at all, just a friendly face. You do need to have finished your LQ, and it's just someone that would like to help someone else do it. So you can give support once you're a qualified leader. And can you tell them how you achieved it? Can you just help them to see things that you did, give them some fresh ideas for the way that you got through yours?
I was talking with one of our district commissioners today, and she's started persuading everybody who's just finished LQ that they want to mentor, and getting them signed up and giving them somebody to mentor. And she said it's working really, really well, and it's giving them a boost because it's the next thing that they can do. And they know the booklet inside out. They know what needs to be done because they've just finished it. And she said it's working really well compared to some of the people who have been mentoring a long time, who are perhaps take a little bit longer to get people through it.
That's an idea, interestingly, that we've just thought we would try. So that's really good to hear that it's worked. Yeah,
she said it's working brilliantly.
I think they make some of the very best mentors are people who've just finished, because it's really fresh in their mind and they're really enthusiastic. And you're so proud, aren't you, when you've got this? When you finish that LQ, it's a big deal. It's a great thing to have got. And I do say to people, it's brilliant on your CV. I mean, absolutely, the buzzword of the moment for CVs is leadership, isn't it? Did we need this one? How much will it cost?
I don't. So
nothing but your time. What do they say?
An hour a week.
An hour a week. Claim your expenses, that's it. So there's a really good bit in the actual LQ workbook itself on page 8. It says what a mentor has to do. So you should contact your mentee, work out what existing skills, etc. they've got, plan a way forward, help them arrange the formal training, sign off their completed modules, maintain contact. The idea is to make sure you try and contact them within 4 weeks, and then perhaps at least once a term, perhaps a bit more often, depends how keen they are and how, whether you see them naturally through being at the unit together or not. And guess what? There's a mentoring e-learning. So if you're a new mentor, this is another helpful one that takes, you got it, 20 to 30 minutes.
I think
you can have it recognized on go.
If you're an experienced mentor and you're just coming back into mentoring, or you want a refresher, I did that module and it did take 20 minutes. And I think it's a good one to have a look at.
So this is the page you'll go through if you click onto that mentoring e-learning. So it takes you through an overview, the tasks and skills that a mentor needs to have. What are your strongest qualities? Identifying needs, setting goals, avoiding jargon. That's always a good one. Do you hear what I hear? Some little exercises, building a relationship. Just reading them on my bigger screen here, giving feedback, responses. So loads of really helpful things, talking about the ways to make sure you're helping your mentees. Libby's got a brilliant thing. Is your thing 50 ways of saying thank you, and 50 ways of encouraging people that they've done well, rather than just saying the same old phrase every time, thank you for volunteering or thank you for your time, just lots of different ways.
That was excellent is a phrase I hear too much of, because it's only excellent when it really is excellent. So there's other ways of saying, I think you've done really well there. Have you thought about this? So it's quite a key part of being a mentor.
And again, I think if they do need to work on making something a little bit better, you can say, tell them the thing that was good, then tell them the thing they need to improve on, and then perhaps praise them again at the end. This is something I think my girls call it a sandwich. Make a sandwich, keep the bad news in the middle, and put around it all the nice padding that makes it seem good. And there's some great resources on the Girlguiding website for mentors. And I'm hoping that Caroline's going to send you the mentor handbook at the end of this session as well, along with these slides from tonight.
Yeah, absolutely.
The link for getting them is also on the next page, just coming up. But there's this mentor handbook, a little reference guide, everything you need to know about being a mentor. There's some meeting ideas to help you for some ideas for when you're going to first meet up with your new leaders in training. One of them's called Being a Perfect Match. One's called Getting Back on Track. I seem to pick up a lot of mentoring where perhaps the mentor and the mentee have kind of gone separate ways, or the mentor's kind of left guiding and the mentee's floating around going, who's helping me? Or people where they've just taken a couple of years and they're just not progressing with that LQ, 2 or 3 years even, and I pick up and come in and say, come on, how are we going to get this finished? What's the sticking point? How are we going to just, what do I need to do to help you to get this done? So that's getting back on track, some help there as well. Seeing it in action. That's about one of the things that the mentor needs to do, is to observe their mentee running a unit meeting. And it's just some tips about how to do that in a nice and constructive way without scaring the living daylights out of your new leader in training, and at what point you should do it, and some more tips for that particular evening where you go and watch their unit meeting. I'm not sure about the last one, a contract that you can both sign to make sure you understand what's expected of each other. I don't think I've ever used that, but anyway, it's there. So there's the link. That's the Become an LQ Mentor. The next thing I was going to talk about was, if you are a new mentor and you've got somebody that's just starting their LQ, where do you think you could start with them? And I'm not trying to tell those of you that are hugely experienced and have mentored loads of times and loads of people what to do. I'm not to teach you suck eggs, but this is just something that I do that works quite well. And again, hopefully for some of you, if you're just starting your LQ, just make sure this is the sort of thing you're doing as well. So I'd suggest a phone call to introduce yourself and then arrange to meet, either face-to-face or over Zoom, whatever you're both comfortable with. We think it's really useful for the mentor to have a copy of the LQ workbook. You can download it from the Girlguiding website. It's quite big to print off. I'm a hard copy person. I like having something next to me to be able to flick through and refer to. And at the very first meeting, when you're sitting with them or over Zoom, give them a bit of an overview of the LQ. There's a fantastic checklist that I love at the back of the book, pages 48 to 50, that summarises each of the clauses. And you might even be able to tick off quite a few of them at your very first meeting.
That checklist is also on the Girlguiding website.
Yeah, so if you haven't got a copy of the workbook at the moment and you need to get on with talking to a mentee, you could get that from there. Very, very useful little 3-page checklist. One thing I often do right at the beginning is a little bit from Module 4, Part 2B, which is to fill in the very front of the LQ booklet, which is the helpful information. So presumably they've got their name already written in there on that first page, but you help them fill in so that they understand which district they're in, which county they're in, except division, county, everything, who their advisors are, and how to get help and where to find out who those people are. You could show them if your county's got a particular website or whatever systems you use for sharing information. And then I usually start with the good old 5 essentials. So they are listed in the LQ booklet on page 46, a nice little summary of them. So just talking about the 5 essentials, when I was talking about them with my original mentor, when I was doing my LQ, they used a mnemonic. I haven't put it in the slides actually, but they used GUIDE, so G-U-I-D-E. And they said that G was for groups, doing things in small groups. U was for unique. This was the one they fudged a little bit, if I'm honest. That's that we're unique because we all share a commitment to the promise and a common standard. Then I, individuals, that we need to look after the individual. Is there somebody that needs a bit more help with scissors than someone else if they're rainbows? With guides, is there somebody that's not at school with any of the others and doesn't really know them? Make sure that she's involved. Just look after them as individuals. D, their decision making, it's girl-led. Let them make the decisions about what they're going to be doing. And then E, well, we said that could be for anything, everything, everyone, and just a varied program that don't do craft every week. Make sure you've got a good varied program that covers everything. So there's your guiding essentials, your 5 essentials. There's also a blank page at the back of the LQ workbook, page 44, called your personal action plan. And I use this, and either I complete it, or if the mentee wants to complete it, I often just sit down and scribble a few things in there, just trying to agree what they're going to aim to try and do between when you leave them and when you're going to meet up with them the next time. So it might be some things for me, it might be some things for them. So it might be Sophie will send you details of first aid courses, first response courses, you need to book one. And so we've got a firm date for when that'll be done. It might be do the unit safety checklist, which is, again, there's that's at the back in the appendices in the workbook. You know, say that when you're next at the hut, go through, do your safety checklist. That's the things like, do you know where all the fire extinguishers are? Do you know what the fire evacuation plan is? Do you know where the exits are? How do you keep things clean and hygienic? All that kind of stuff.
It's really useful when you've had a meeting to fix the date of when you're having your next meeting, so that it's not open-ended. And I think that's where quite a few mentors fall down, because they say, well, we'll get in touch in a few months' time. And if you don't fix that date, it often doesn't happen.
And again, I think another key one is to agree when you're going to come and observe them. That's going to be perhaps towards the end, when they're feeling a bit more confident. Yeah. And when they've almost completed all of the other parts of the LQ. But that can be something you can have an aim. You can talk about the endpoint right at the beginning. I quite like to say to them, and particularly with ours, if they're starting at the beginning of the long autumn term, I often say there's a huge amount of opportunity in the autumn term to do things because of the amount of district activities there are. There's lots of opportunities that term to do things with another section, which is one of the clauses, run an activity with another section. And again, there just tends to be the ability to do joint events, discos, church services. We do Christingle, all sorts of things like that you can organise, and getting outside, doing things outside, doing consent forms, etc. Try and agree that you're going to get as much of that done, and tell them about the opportunities of what you can help them to do in that particular term, and maybe say to them, I reckon we can have this whole thing done by Easter. Give them an end point. A couple of terms, I think, is a really good aim. That's to me is the ideal. But sometimes if you're starting at the beginning of the summer term, you know that not a lot's going to happen, because it's going to be lots of fun outdoor guiding, and then a big long summer break. So again, with that one, have in mind that you set a date to meet up in September or early October to get things going again when everybody's back into the swing of guiding after a well-earned break over the summer. You can suggest that they do that beginning to lead e-learning. That was in the first section when we mentioned about the LQ, and make sure they understand the types of formal training that they require and help them book the training. So you could go through those slides, just like I did for talking about the LQ. You could go through those with your mentee and make sure they know where to get all of their e-modules, and perhaps talk to them about the order in which they're going to do those, maybe list them on their personal action plan. Oh, look, finished off with a blank slide. Yes, there really only were 51, so we finished even before I thought.
Has anybody got any comments or questions that they'd like to make? They're going to be silent, so I'm going to put people on the spot. Okay, next question then. One thing that you've got from today's training that you might use to take forward from now. Now, you've all got different experiences. We've got a couple of leaders in training, and we've got up to county commissioners and assistant region commissioners. So one thing that you're going to take forwards from what we've been doing, and I'm going to put people on the spot. And Helen, I'm going to start with you because we've met before.
My thing I set forward is the ideas for like an action plan of what they will do, and giving them the ideas of the learnings and things, and just generally helping them at the beginning, but how to start off being a mentor, and how to be a friendly, warm and welcoming person, and how to get them through it. So that's fine.
Okay, Nicola.
Okay, one of the most valuable things I'll take away is making sure that mentors have got a hard copy of the LQ book.
Yeah, it's really hard.
Especially over the last 12 months, I think, as things have changed and we've all got used to doing Zoom and meeting virtually, I think for mentor and mentee meetings, perhaps a lot of people are going to continue to meet virtually because it fits in with people's lifestyles. So if you've got that booklet to hand, both of you, rather than being face to face and sharing the booklet. So that's mine. I'm going to make sure that all the mentors have got a hard copy of the book.
One of the first things that Sophie and I did was say to County, I know it's a cost, but it's got to be worth it because we can get this to work more smoothly.
Yeah, no, I like that idea. Thank you.
Lydia, you're a new leader in training. What have you got? What are you going to take forward from tonight?
I'm going to make greater use of the checklist in the back of the leadership qualification booklet, because that's not something I've done yet, and to make use of the personal action plan as well, to kind of break down the work into smaller segments so it doesn't seem as overwhelming.
I think you'll feel you're making much more progress when you start ticking off all those little boxes in that checklist. It'll feel like you've done more, and it just is encouraging. It's just so nice ticking things off. Now, my husband, if at the weekend, he always has a to-do list of the garden and everything, and when he gets to the end of the day on a Saturday, he sometimes adds something in at the end that he's done, because he goes, but it wasn't on my list. He goes, but I've got to tick it off. I love ticking it off.
Jean, you're a very experienced leader who's been mentoring, and you've got a leader in training working with you that you hope is going to take over. So what have you got that you're going to take forward from today? Can't hear you. You're on mute.
Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, grand. Sorry about that. Well, I've been keen to see that actually the leader in training is actually achieving quite well, and it's encouraging to know that she's going in the right direction, and I'll be able to tell her that. Also, that the program training being available as an e-learning, that she needs to have a look at, and so do I. And that I need to get my commissioner to get me a copy of the booklet, because I've borrowed Leah's for tonight. You know, my leader in training, I've borrowed hers, but I was keen to get another one, but now I can say actually that is what is recommended. So thank you for that.
Excellent. Laura, you've been a unit helper for ages, you say, or for a number of years. So when you look at that checklist, you're going to be able to tick an awful lot off. What else have you got from today?
I think I was kind of similar to Lydia. I've only had my leadership qualification booklet kind of about a month, but I remember when I first got it, I was like, oh my gosh, where do I even start with this? And actually tonight, you've kind of broken it down into bite-sized pieces and made it kind of obvious where bits are, and, you know, those kind of links. Think, right, well, I know where to go to do that bit and this bit, and I can go onto the website and find different bits. So it's kind of made it a bit more accessible and a bit more understandable, because like you say, there's a lot of words in the booklet, isn't there? So sometimes I'd read it in panic and then think, oh, I just need to calm down and read it again. So I've slowly been working through module 1. So I just think I need to go back over it now and kind of use some of the stuff I've learned tonight. Really.
I think you'll find if you read the checklist,
yes,
rather than trying to work it through from the beginning of module 1 and get to the end, you'll have done so much that's later on already, that you'll feel much more positive about your progress.
Yeah, well, that I haven't really looked at the checklist, but I just had a quick flick through when you mentioned it earlier, and it does that kind of that helps as well. So hopefully now I can go away and look at things a bit more logically.
Great.
Simone.
I've been scribbling notes down all over the place. I'm a bit like Sophie, really. I think some of the leads I've been asked to look are a little bit of, I think they've got a little bit stuck. Yeah. So I've been making some bits and pieces of notes, and then I think I'm certainly going to use the presentation, and I've already scribbled down to sort of maybe when it comes through, actually do with the 3 that I've got in mind, and just actually work through it with them, really, because I think they've got very bogged down, and I think just going back and just starting again, I think and then just sort of being quite methodical with them, we'll just sort of maybe peeling back some layers, I think really make them feel a little bit better. And the other bit that I know with one of them I've spoken to, with doing the sort of the first response and the safe space, they found that a little bit intimidating. So I'm going to work on how we can maybe sort of coordinate ourselves a little bit better within the division to make sure that maybe they've got a buddy or somebody that will go on the course with them, rather than saying, right, you need to do this, you need to go and do your first response, it's on such and such a date, go and put yourself on. And that has been a sticking point with a couple of these leaders, and I think it's more a case of they feel a bit intimidated about going and doing something where they're not going to know anybody, so they're avoiding it.
Idea, which it's a bit of a pre-COVID idea, because I don't know how comfortable people would be now, but we've been trying to be green and do car sharing. And so we've been trying to get people to share information about which trainings they're going to, and particularly for some of the young leaders who's otherwise maybe their parents would have to take them. Say, if you've actually got another leader in this area going to that same training, take the young leader, offer, do some car share. But obviously COVID, you know, maybe people aren't so comfortable. But I think, you know, at least sharing that you're going to be there. I did my first response refresher during COVID, and there were 8 of us fully socially distanced, and I felt extremely safe on it. And there was one fairly vulnerable, an older lady who really hadn't been out of the house at all, but was desperate to get her first response done, and even she felt comfortable doing it. So, you know, do encourage people to do the training, and that you know, the people that run the courses are generally extremely nice, and you know how nice all the other guiders are. But lovely idea to maybe pair up with people that need to get theirs refreshed or redone, and get more than one person going along.
Yeah, I think it's just a sort of just if you can recognize if there's one friendly face, if there's one friendly face in the room, or even on the Zoom, that might make just a difference. If you can say to somebody, well, so and so is going to be there as well, and you've met them at something, or even if desperation comes, I'll come. But just to get them over, you know, just to get over that hurdle, really, I think. But yeah, I think I think I'm going to do some peeling right back, and use the presentation and just go through it all and say, look, just put the workbook to one side, because it is daunting, and this is what we have to do, and we're just going to just go through it methodically and get you there. So yeah, it's given me a lot of inspiration and loads of ideas. So yeah, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Simone. We have 3 more people because I don't want to leave anybody out. So, Sarah, what will you take away from this?
Well, because I suppose as a county commissioner, you're overseeing everything. So it's been really useful to actually focus on the leadership and mentoring tonight, and actually go back and look at what it all covers, because you tend to sort of don't get involved in everything as much as you would do normally. So I think the checklist for the LITs is certainly really useful, and I think we'll definitely use that. And I think, again, as a county commissioner, making sure all the mentors have hard copies of things is definitely something I will take forward, and we'll do that, because it's obviously a great help. So lots of ideas, very useful. Thank you, ladies.
2 more people. Kate Nielsen.
Yeah, actually, one of the things that I found quite challenging, mentoring, I'm not mentoring my leader in training, someone else is doing that, but that my leadership book, which I finished mine a year ago, is different than my leader in trainings in my unit. And I've really appreciated, Sophie, tonight, you pulling together all these different trainings that have actually replaced some of the do this training, you know, like being a rainbow leader. It's not on Go anymore. And I had been recommending that she do these trainings, and they've just disappeared.
Yeah, they've gone, that's right.
So it's nice to see that list of actually these 5 options. And I would say I've done them as well, just on my own over time, really appreciated them as I kind of found my way as a leader in training. So it was nice to have them all together. But yeah, definitely, Simone, having a buddy really does help with getting from point A to point B, not just a mentor, but somebody that's kind of in it with you.
So
you can do those joint activities together with as well.
Thank you. Right, Emma thought she would get away with this, but I know that Emma is also mentoring. So something that you're going to take away from this session.
I think sort of having or suggesting an end point, I think that's kind of very easy to look over, isn't it? But actually having let's get this done by the end of the summer term, by Christmas, is really useful. So I think I'll definitely take that on.
And there's no one size fits all. It's going to be flexible, and hopefully you'll get to know your mentees, and you can judge quite a lot from a first meet as to whether they're going to be somebody that's, I can sort of tell fairly early on whether I need to fill in the personal action plan for them or whether they're going to do it when I'm sitting with them. When in my day job, when I'm training adults, if they come for a one-to-one session after a class with me, and they've asked me to explain something, I get quite frustrated when they sit there and they're not taking any notes. And you think, I'm taking all this time to explain this to you and you're not actually writing anything down. So I tend to be one of those people that as I'm writing and explaining something to people, I write it. But you need to judge and get the feeling for the individuals, and help them how they want to be helped. I like the idea, what I'll take away, because I learn things every time I do this as well, is I love the idea of the buddy system. And I think that's something I'd like to try and talk to our districts and our divisions about, whether we can pair people up with someone else who's doing the LQ to help them motivate each other, and maybe do some joint sessions together to try and do a few things. Let's say, let's all have an evening where we do an e-learning. Let's all have an evening where we talk about the promise and get that clause done. Nicola, do you want to say something?
I'm just going to say, you're saying about the buddy system. We had 2 leaders in training in one of our local units that worked together throughout for the whole of the qualification. They got it completed really quickly. They both completed all elements, but they did it together. The information came, yes, the books tallied up together, and it just worked really well. But that was 2 in a unit, and I know that doesn't always happen at the same time in a same unit, but if you've got a couple of leaders in training at a same unit, then perhaps suggest that they do it as a team.
We've even got in our district, we've got 2 pairs of ladies, so 4 of them doing it. They took over. We always say that one leader who retired was so amazing it took 4 people to replace her. But the way they wanted to do it, so they didn't want to commit to every week. So they have 2 pairs of owls, a brownie unit, and 2 of them do it one week, 2 do it the next week, 2 do it one week, 2 do it the next week. Brilliant. And all 4 of them are just coming to the end of their booklets as well.
The good news is that 2 of them have got signed off yesterday.
That's right. The other 2, those books should be coming to you anyway.
They're coming next week.
It's brilliant. And that has been a huge success as well. And to the extent that although I think some of their daughters are finishing at Brownies fairly soon, I'm very close to persuading them to set up a new guide unit.
Oh, fantastic.
So these things, when you do it with a friend and do it in a pair, it can work really, really well. So that's my big thing.
Finally, not to leave out Carolyn and Jocelyn, is there anything that either of you 2 want to add?
Yeah, I tend not to open the leadership qualification book right at the start. So we'll have our planning meeting and we'll involve them, and then we'll set a date to go through the book. And then it's a ta-da moment because they've actually completed quite a lot, because yes, the book is very, very daunting. It's huge. But, that's then makes it, you've achieved so much in these couple of months. We can then get an end date. But I also love the comment about getting mentors the book, because certainly as trainers, we all struggle to get new copies of the books. And quite often are pointed out that we're using the wrong version because it's seen as a wasted expense. So, yeah, I think we really do need to shift that as a region, to get those books out, because it's not a cost, it's an investment.
Absolutely.
And what you could do is you can say to people that if they are stopping being a mentor, could they give the book back? If they ceased, you could ask for it back. I'm sure people would rather, rather than putting it in the recycling or whatever, that they'd rather get it used again.
What you're doing is you're empowering the mentors. And we both feel that it's really important that mentors feel empowered, but it's also important that leaders in training feel empowered and know what's going on so that they can have a dialogue rather than it just be the mentor helping them, sorting them out. It's a two-way process, because most effective learning is a two-way process. Well, I think we've covered everything, Sophie.
I think so. I'm really lovely feedback from you all. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening. I hope it's been what Jocelyn and Caroline wanted. It's something that I think you trusted us with. Oh yes, and look, Libby's got the mentor handbook there. That's
the mentoring handbook, which Caroline will send out to you, and it's got some extra resources at the back that we found on the Girlguiding mentoring pages.
Actually, if you wait, Caroline, I will send you. I've got a ability. I'll make one PDF with the whole lot in. And I'll send you that tomorrow because I can do that on my computer. So I've suddenly realised I've only sent you the handbook bit, but I'll put all the other bits in as one PDF. I'll do that for you.
Amazing.
And use them as you wish.
Absolutely.
You know, spread them about, use them with your mentors, use them with your leaders in training.
Yeah, and use the slides. There's no personal copyright or, oh, those are Sophie's slides. It's not like that. They're for you. Use them how you need to. Chop them up, take bits, copy bits, whatever.
There's a man in my garden waving at me saying, are we going to eat? So, I think
Can I just say a huge thank you to Libby and to Sophie for taking us through the leadership qualification in an hour. It has been a lovely session. We've all learned loads. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
And thank you to everyone attending tonight.
Okay, bye everybody.
Bye everybody.
Thank you.
Bye. See you all.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
See you all again soon.